Hi, welcome to Bryan Says. So, what is this and why am I doing it? Well, let me ask you if you know this name. I'm guessing you do not, because we obviously have not talked about it yet. But do you know the name Bobby Templin? Uh, Bobby Templin is somebody who is currently incarcerated at the Idaho State Prison System, in the Idaho State Prison System. And he is currently being denied medical health care. This is probably not news to anybody, really. But when I first heard the story, I was a little bit surprised because I had seen this happen firsthand multiple times, and I was always told to trust the system, follow the procedures, follow the steps, and I did all of those things. And at some point, that resulted in me no longer being an IDOC involuntarily, or read between the lines, I was fired. Yes. So you might be like saying, well, you're obviously doing videos about IDOC and law enforcement because you're a bitter ex-employee. Well, I suppose that could be true, but I don't think so. But I guess we'll find out. The biggest question I would ask around the situation is, why is this still happening? Well, I will say very clearly it is still happening because IDOC is a criminal enterprise. Why do I say this? Well, I say that because they allow people to die, and this happens both inside and outside of prison. And it happens quite often. I saw this actually firsthand, as a matter of fact. And while I was there, I actually got in trouble for that. So we'll get into that down the road. So I should probably tell you about Idaho a little bit. Idaho is a very cruel state. Idaho is extremely red. Um, I live in Boise, and Boise, Idaho is a great place to live because it's not as red. But as soon as you step outside of the confines of Boise, it becomes extremely red. During the pandemic, we had realtors who were actively selling real estate to extremists. And then the extremists would come here and tell their friends, Idaho's a great place because guess what? They're pretty racist here. Um, Another example would be the governor of Idaho, Brad Little. Um, as I speak right now, he is currently at the border with all of his extremist friends. That gives you an idea of just who he is. And what's unfortunate about this is I've actually have known the governor for quite a few years. Even before he was governor, I used to talk to him quite often. And I'm honestly shocked by how things have developed over the years. He simply has lost his way. He bows to the ring of Trump. He stands and does nothing against racism and hatred. He literally stands for nothing. Um, Over the summer last year, I was talking to somebody from the National Education Association, and she was telling me how awesome it was. We had a governor who was pro-education, and I laughed at her. I says, "Are you kidding me? This guy's been in office for more than 12 years, and he's done literally nothing. And the only thing that he did for education was because he was forced when the voters said, hey, we want to fund education." And of course, none of that actually happened because they have just, undone so much of it. And then recently he came out about how he was making the schools better. Well, that's great if you have a strong educational system. And since all he has done is take money away from education, it's not really, doesn't mean anything. So anyway, he's had multiple opportunities to speak out against hatred and racism, including when he had a lieutenant governor next to him who was supporting the extremists, and he said nothing. In fact, if anything, his absence of talking only speaks louder about how much he supports it. And if he doesn't, then he needs to come out and say something. Um, so anyway, why am I speaking out? Why am I creating these videos about IDOC and the director and the different policies? Well, things are getting worse. So the purpose of Bryan Says is explore what is happening at IDOC and how they're making the society here in Idaho inherently worse and more dangerous. And if you're a staff member there within the system and you say something or you speak out about it, well, they come after you, harass you, bully you, intimidate you, and eventually they'll fire you. We'll get into that too. So are you ready to kind of step into all this with me? It should be interesting, I think, but maybe that's just me. At the end of the day, you may decide that maybe I'm the problem, but I guess we'll see. So let me describe the format. So each segment, if you will have a main topic and will be followed by something random. For example, today's segment is a basic intro, what I'm going to do, and then for the random part, I already kind of talked about how cruel Idaho is, but I'll give you a specific example. Recently in the newspaper today, there was a woman who was suffering a miscarriage, and a pharmacist denied her the medication that was prescribed by a doctor to make her basically not have to have surgery and be in pain for the next, 4 to 8 weeks or however long it takes, and have her pass the fetus, which was terminated and not living, within a few days versus weeks or months, or even worse, she has health complications. This is how cruel Idaho is. Idaho is cruel against women. Idaho is very cruel against those who are of color. Idaho is very racist. Idaho has a lot of hate in it. You might be thinking at this point, well, dude, why are you even living in Idaho? That's a great question. I believe in change. I believe we can make things better. This governor that's in there right now, he needs to go. People who are running IDOC, they all need to go. There needs to be a very direct change because right now these guys have been around way too long. What else about Idaho? Oh, and if you're a little different, if you express different values, they'll come after you because they also embrace hatred. And so that's unfortunate too. Let's see. What else? Oh, and this right now is a static video. So my goal is to do live streaming starting next week. And the topic next week, I will explore more on the topic of Bobby Templin, various things that I've found out since the article came out in the paper, and then bring up some new topics as well. So hopefully we can change some things. But in order to change some things about IDOC, the first thing we have to do is make it more transparent, and that is not happening. I look forward to interactions online and talking to you soon. Take care.